Okay, we good? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll call the meeting of the Board of Aldermen. This is Tuesday, November the 5th, and we will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation by Alderman Vaughn, and then a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alderman Vaughn.
Let us pray. Most holy, all wise, all knowing, all powerful, all seeing, all hearing, understanding God. The God that sit high and look low, heaven is thy seat and earth is thy footstool, the one that rules and super rules. Father God, again, here's a few of your handmaids serving by the way of the Holy Spirit, by the guidance and direction of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, our big brother, our Redeemer, our salvation, the only begotten beloved Son that was born of a Virgin Mary. Here again, Father, the mayor and the board come to handle the affairs of this city. But most of all, God, we can't do nothing without your guidance and direction. Praying that you will move and touch each one of our heart, Father God, that every decision we make will glorify you. Pray that you will fill this place with your spirit. Father, we thank you for what all you allowed this city to achieve and all that you allowed us to do as members, board mayor and board member. We thank you. Hoping that every decision we make glorify you. Praying that all our work glorify you, Father God, because you is the one that knows all things, sees all things, hears all things, and understands all things. You're the one that said you'll never leave us, nor would you forsake us. Oh, Father God, we just thank you so much for being our God, and we your servants, being our Father, and we are the children. Thank you again so much for controlling our destiny, not leaving us in the hand of man. Father, we give all praise and honor and glory to you because of who you are and where you are. Thank you so much, Father God, for being where you are. Thank you for having an ear to hear. Thank you for listening. But most of all, thank you for having a heart to hear our heart as it beat. And it beat in the name of Jesus. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here this evening. We will start by approval of the official agenda with consented items, and I do have one item to add to the agenda, which is a proclamation regarding the existence of a local emergency. Kristen Campanella, our FEMA representative, has sent this to me this afternoon, and so if we could, if the board would be willing to do that, we can put that under mayor's business or under board business, whatever is the pleasure of the board, but if we could add that to the agenda. Any objections to adding that to the agenda? Okay, I'll put it under item D, Board of Aldermen, so it will be a proclamation of the existence of a local emergency, and I will read that. Out so that it'll be read into the record. All right. Do we have any changes to the agenda or additions to the consent agenda, or any items that the board wishes to change?
May I be recognized, Mayor?
Vice Mayor Perkins.
Yes, Mayor, just like to add three things to the consent agenda.
Okay.
Let's go over to page number 5, number 4 under engineering. Consideration of the restructuring of the engineering street department.
Okay, you'd like to add that to consent?
Please,
okay.
ma'am.
Any objections to adding that to the consent agenda? Seeing none, we will show that added to the consent agenda.
Mayor, finally, on page 6 of tonight's agenda, under human resources, items number 3 and 4, I'd like to add both those items to the consent agenda.
Okay. Everyone comfortable with adding those to the consent agenda? All right. Seeing nothing, seeing no concerns, we will add both item 3 and 4 under human resources to the consent agenda.
I yield, Mayor.
All right. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Anything further? All right. Seeing nothing, I need a motion to approve the official agenda with the consented items as modified.
So moved, Mayor.
I have a motion from Alderman Little. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Alderman Walker. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And I will read the consented items. First item is consideration of the minutes of the October 11th, 2019 work session of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Starkville. Under Mayor's business, we have consideration of the purchase of a new computer for the outdoor warning sirens from Precision Communications at a cost of $10,408. We have request permission to call for a public hearing to establish an ordinance to adhere to fire code requirements for mobile food preparation vehicles. Under board business, we have a consideration of mayor and board of aldermen to attend the Mississippi Municipal League's 2020 Midwinter Conference, January the 14th through the 16th, 2020, in Jackson, Mississippi, with advance payment of travel and registration. Alderman Perkins will not be attending. Under planning, we have item B, consideration of a COA 19-01 certificate of appropriateness request by Gary Schaefer on behalf of Ken and Gigi Holmes for minor exterior changes to that porch and roof at 511 Greensboro Street on a parcel that is currently zoned R1 with property number 102B-00-106.00. We have consideration of one candidate, Vicki West, for the potential appointment for the vacancy in Ward 2 of the Starkville Planning and Zoning Commission. Number D, we have consideration of replacing iWork with MyGov permitting services from MyGov LLC and Oklahoma Corporation in an amount not to exceed $19,856 plus annual licensing renewal fees of $16,800 thereafter. Under engineering, we have consideration of declaring street department vehicle number 70, a 2004 International 4300 with an asphalt attachment, VIN number 1HTMMAA-NX5H118753, surplus, and authorization to auction on Gov Deals, authorization to advertise for a new asphalt patching truck, and approval for the city clerk CFO to obtain financing leasing quotes. Number 2, consideration of declaring street department truck number 708, 1994 Ford F-150, VIN number 1FTDF15Y0RNA08538, pickup truck as surplus and to auction on Gov Deals. Number 3 is consideration of approving Neil Schaefer as the consultant for emergency road and bridge replacement ERBR project for the Old West Point Road Bridge number SA 530000000138, using MDOT small purchase procedure, authorizing Kevin Stafford as the engineer of record, and authorize the mayor to negotiate and sign an engineering services contract and any necessary MDOT activation or project-related paperwork. Number 4 is consideration of the restructuring of the engineering and street department. Under Finance Administration, number 2, consideration of the lowest and best bid for financing with Regions Equipment Finance Corporation in the amount of $280,000 over 7 years to be made annually in advance beginning January of 2020 at 2.49% interest for the lease purchase of one front-loader truck to be used by the Starkville Sanitation Department. Under the Fire Department, we have number 1, request authorization to accept an HMEP LEPC grant in the amount of $43,112.71 to purchase hazardous material equipment and to conduct hazardous materials training. This is a 75-25 matching grant in which the SFD would be responsible for $10,778.18. Number 2 is request permission to issue a commercial burn permit to Byram Construction to burn cleared debris associated with a construction project to occur at Huntington Park subdivision property located on South Montgomery. G, under Human Resources, number 1 is request authorization to hire Princeton Jones and Austin Spears as an entry-level firefighters in the Starkville Fire Department and to retain the candidates from the selection process held on October the 28th, 2019 for consideration to fill any additional vacant positions in the fire department due to retirements, terminations, or approved additions to the fire department within a period of 90 days. Number 2, request authorization to advertise for 2 part-time customer service representatives in the Starkville Utilities Department. Number 3 is request authorization to change the classification of Sean Johnston from superintendent to chief water operator in the Starkville Utilities Department. Number 4 is request authorization to advertise for a water operations manager in the Starkville Utilities Department. Number 5 is request authorization to advertise for a customer service representative in the Starkville Utilities Department. Number 6, request authorization to advertise for linemen in the Starkville Electric Department. Number 7 is request authorization to change the employment status of Curtis White from part-time bailiff parking control officer to full-time bailiff parking control officer with benefits in the Starkville Police Department. Number 8, request authorization to advertise for a temporary part-time radio operator dispatcher in the Starkville Police Department. Under Police Department, number 1 is consideration to purchase a white 2020 Dodge Durango for DARE in the amount of $27,592 off state contract and to be purchased out of the DARE fund grant. Under Sanitation Department, number 1, consideration to declare the Environmental Service Department 2008 Ford F-150 VIN number 1FTRF12W68KD94195 truck number 97 as surplus. Auction on Gov Deals and purchase a new 2019 Dodge Ram 1500 pickup truck for $18,956. State contract number 070-4852311. Under Utilities Department, we have number 1, request authorization for Randall Criswell with the Electric Division of Starkville Utilities to travel to Jackson, Tennessee to attend the TVPPA Lineman Apprenticeship Lab 5. Troubleshooting on December the 2nd through the 6th, 2019, with cost not to exceed $2,000. Number 2, request authorization to advertise for source of supply bids for the electrical and water divisions of Starkville Utilities with the intent of awarding the source of supply contracts for the January 1, 2020 through June 30, 2020 period. And that concludes the consent agenda items.
Thank you, Mayor.
My pleasure. All right. Next item on the agenda is approval of the Board of Aldermen minutes. We have one set of minutes left to approve. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Alderman Vaughn, was that you?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I have a motion from Alderman Vaughn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Alderman Little. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, mayor's comments. And I had a couple of things. I hope everyone got out and voted today. You still have about an hour and looks like 18 minutes to get there if you are so desire. We also have a Veterans Day parade on Monday. So Monday is a holiday for the city. The 11th is a holiday. So if you would, please come out and share your appreciation of our veterans on that day. That would be great. Kayla, I see you out there. What time does that start, please, ma'am?
It's actually Saturday.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hello. The holiday is the 11th. Thank you. You were going to let me sit there and do that, weren't you? Okay, good. Thank you. So it's Saturday at 10?
It's at 10 o'clock a.m. We have the veterans breakfast at 8, and the musical is at 11.
Okay, so Veterans Day is actually the 11th, though, which is Monday. Okay, my bad. Thank you for that, and thank you for doing the parade. I appreciate that. And the other thing, I wanted to acknowledge Chief Yarborough. One of the things that Chief Yarborough, besides putting out a fire today, thank you so much for that. I know the people on McKinley Street are greatly appreciative of the work that y'all did this morning, very early, by the way. But one of the things that I was not aware of that I wanted to make the board aware of in a public way is that we have taken our training in-house in some ways, and I asked the chief to count up the savings associated with that, and it comes out to about $7,100 or so, give or take some. But anyway, taking that training in-house, I think is extraordinary. We're also, including Columbus and Tupelo trained with us the last time for that last graduating class, right, Chief? And so I just wanted to make sure the board was aware of that, because not only does it build that esprit de corps with our firefighters in-house, it also saves us money. And the chief bragged on them and said, I think they did better than anybody that was actually down in the training course down in Jackson. So I just wanted to give you props on that, because I think that's an incredible program, and I appreciate y'all doing that. So, all right. I don't have anything else. Does anyone on the board have anything for comments, board comments? No? All right. We have now citizens' comments. This is the opportunity for anyone who wishes to come take 3 minutes. This is usually a one-way conversation. Y'all share with us your thoughts. We keep time. Our city clerk will be keeping the 3-minute time clock, so you are welcome to come up and share any of the thoughts about any issues with us. Mr. Turner.
Good evening to the mayor and board. Good evening to the mayor, the captain that is sitting in for the chief, and the NACP President Yolanda Haddock. I am the vice president of the NACP Ottawa County Voice for the Community. Some concerns that we have after looking at the tape of last meeting and going over and over, come up with just my thought that some people have trouble with women being in authority. But that's just my thoughts. We also have a problem. We've seen some activity of when they put out some bags, have local people coming, picking the bags up, trying to sell them for $5. The citizens is glad that we're getting a sidewalk on on Highway 25. It looks more safer now, and we'll be glad when they complete it. But the putting out of our bags and people coming, picking them up, selling them, that it make people kind of scared. We want to thank the police chief for the hanging there and giving us a headquarters that we're proud of. The coffee with the cop, the Citizen Police Academy. We thank Chief for that. That gave us a high morale, and also with chaplains, gave all of us high morale. And pray for the family and myself. Our days is coming. We just feel like that we cannot let our kin people get away with murder. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
I want to address
Yes,
just one thing, and I'll say publicly, I know that this time of the year that the garbage bags are distributed, and I want to say thank you to Mr. Ware and your department for seeing a lot of your workers out on the weekends, Saturdays, and Sundays even to get that accomplished. Over the years, we've found that the best way to distribute garbage bags to apartments, buildings, from the situation that exactly what you're talking about, is for the constituents of apartments to come up and collect theirs. I think that works the best. There are going to be some individuals in life that may go and steal some bags off of a neighbor's home, but it tends to happen more frequently in an apartment building, I would say. So the system that we've got in place, I think, is the best system that we've had in years. And if anyone wants to chime in on that, I know what you're saying. We do have calls from time to time. If somebody has a situation where they just know they were taken to call the sanitation department or the city hall and get that taken care of. So, thank you.
thank you.
Mayor, may I make one comment?
Vice Mayor, sir.
Mr. Ware, would you come up front just a minute? And let me just make a very few friendly comments. Ward's not planning on getting recognized past the consent agenda this evening, but let me just say, Mr. Ware, during my many years here, there have been a lot of different methods about distribution of garbage bags, but I just call you up front just so I can just take this moment of personal privilege to recognize you as the department head about the way that you handle the distribution of the bag. I just heard the allegation about somebody, taking the bags and doing something negative with it. I have not heard anything. Your staff do an excellent job, and the press needs to hear that. Those who tune in, live stream this, whoever comes up here is the voice of the people, or whoever speaks needs to hear that you and your men do a great job. I get very great feedback about the placement of the bags, and I personally know that y'all place them as close as you can. Your men work very meticulous regardless of the weather, whether it's inclement, raining, or whatever the weather is, they go out there and do their job under your great leadership. So just in case somebody caught the last word that was said before the gentleman from one got the floor, before I got the floor, I want them to know that the method of distribution of the city's garbage bag is a very great method. This method's been discussed over my 26 years. That's the best way, 26 years and 4 months as of today, about how we want to get the bags out. So I just want to make it clear. We just heard an allegation about somebody's allegedly doing something with the garbage bags, and that's nothing but an allegation because we don't have any proof to substantiate that. So it's a strong allegation without any proof. So when you don't have any proof, it's nothing but talk. So, but I just want to get you up here, take this moment to recognize you and your staff. And I wanted to do that. It's important in this meeting to say that because that was a strong allegation without any proof. And and I'm not expecting any feedback. I just want you to come up here and be recognized for your excellent leadership. Oh, as Director of Sanitation Environmental Services, you're a man who follow your leadership very closely, and just keep doing what you do. And if something goes wrong, you know, you're an excellent worker. You know how to report it to the mayor and the board, and you do an excellent job with that. So I only brought you forward, Mr. Ware, just for the public to see you up front as our director, and I want to recognize you that tonight in light of that allegation. You know, and I'm used to people making an allegation, but they have to have proof, and we don't have any of that. But we're pleased with what you're doing, and just keep up the excellent work, and tell your man that we appreciate you. And I wasn't intending to get recognized, but in light of what was just said, it was just incumbent upon me to say that. So thank you, Mr. Ware. You can return to your seat. Mayor, thank you so much here.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Yield the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Ware. Okay, anyone? Yes, ma'am, if you would identify yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Amanda Kaplan, and I'm with the Starkville Mayor's Youth Council. Some of our recent service projects have been Trunk or Treat, where we worked games for kids, and we did a canned food drive with United We Feed this past weekend. We have enjoyed Mayor's Youth Council so far. Thank you for your continuous support.
You are most welcome. Glad you're enjoying it. All right, anyone else wishing to make citizens' comments?
Mayor, ask them, did they all get the sheet signed?
Oh, okay. Ladies, did y'all all get your sheets signed? Okay. Alderman Vaughn, did you sign them for them?
I signed a couple.
All right, excellent. Everybody got their sheets signed? Okay, well, y'all are gonna have to just wait then. We can hope that it'll be a short meeting for you. How about that? Ms.
Good
Gilmore.
afternoon, Board. My name is Kayla Gilmore of KMG Creations, and I just want to remind everybody about the Veterans Day Parade that will take place Saturday, November the 9th at 10 a.m. In downtown. Although Veterans Day is Monday, we celebrate this parade on Saturday. There's not a game day. We ask you all to come out and be a part. We will even be taking people to participate up to the parade at 9 o'clock a.m. Come, bring your ride or whatever, and get registered with us. There will also be a Veterans Day breakfast at the Unity Park at 8 a.m. And there'll be a musical at 11 a.m. as well at the courthouse. So I ask you to please come, rain or shine, rain or shine, rain or shine. This parade will go on. Again, we thank you, and our Grand Marshal is Captain Tim Bailey of National Guard 2114 Field Artillery, and his servicemen and women. This is kind of like a welcome home as well as an honor of our veterans. And thank you so much for your time, and thank you, Mayor, for serving.
Yeah, well, thank you, and I apologize again for saying the wrong
okay.
date. I am so sorry.
It's okay.
I was focused on the 11th being Veterans Day,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
we'll look forward to seeing you Saturday morning.
November the 9th.
Yes, ma'am.
Quick
Yes,
question.
ma'am.
Officer Strunk.
Since I want to tweet about this, I want to be sure I've got it right. The parade is at 10 o'clock downtown
10 o'clock downtown, starting at the Oktibbeha County
at
Courthouse.
the courthouse, okay? And breakfast is 8 o'clock at Unity Park,
Breakfast for the veterans is at 8 o'clock at the Unity Park. Yes, ma'am.
okay? And 11 o'clock at the courthouse, the musical.
And we're going to have a musical right at the courthouse
All
steps.
right.
Bring your chairs.
Very good.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. And free to participate.
Thank you. All right, anyone else wishing to make a public appearance?
Good evening to the mayor and the board and our attorney. I come before you thanking you all for hearing us out for over a year.
Yes,
I
ma'am,
thank
just
you.
say your name for the.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, no
Marcia
problem.
Tolliver.
We know who you are, but we have an audience, so thank you.
I thank you all for hearing us out for over a year. It has been a long haul, and there have been others who have asked many things and have prayed and asked about us. And there has been and there still is an account at Renaissance Bank for any of you or anyone in the city who wants to bless our family. It's there. All they have to do is say that they are coming to do a donation in our name, John and Marcia Tolliver.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
And I thank you all again for hearing us out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tolliver. Anyone else?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor.
Yes, sir.
fellow Aldermen. My name Chris Taylor, Ward 7. And, you know, I keep seeing in the paper and everywhere else about the dilapidated homes in the community. What is the status of the one on 182? That's the biggest eyesore, 182 and MLK. That is an eyesore.
182 and MLK are the same. What's the cross
I mean,
street?
D.L. Conant, 182.
Talking about the
Building Street.
triplex or the apartment complex?
No, ma'am, the
Building.
The
Oh,
building.
the building, I'm
The-
sorry,
the
not
building- the
houses.
building.
I apologize.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am, because that is really an
Process.
eyesore. That is embarrassing to the city as you drive into town. And I hate driving by that every day and seeing that.
Yes, sir, I understand. I will respond to that. We are looking to get a build grant, which should announce within the next 2 weeks. It is my hope that that build grant will help us take that down and repair the stormwater issue underneath it, the storm drainage issue underneath it. So that's kind of what we're hoping for. So,
Okay.
but you're not talking about a home, you're talking about that building.
Oh,
So,
I'm talking
yes.
about yeah, because I keep seeing, you know, they had in the paper about these
Right.
homes and the neighborhoods and all.
Right.
But yet the eyesore
Unfortunately, we can't
is what
burn
people,
that.
but the eyesore is what people see every day.
I understand.
Yes, ma'am.
Alderman Sistrunk.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, would you
Oh, I'm
recognize
sorry.
Alderman Sistrunk?
No, ma'am, no, ma'am. I'm
That's,
sorry.
that's something that we've looked at for some time in terms of taking it down, and it was cost prohibitive, I believe would be the technical term for us to contract that out, because we're unsure what's under there in terms of the stormwater system and that sort of thing. So this build grant is our great hope for getting that resolved. And when I say cost prohibitive, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay, and another thing, is there any update on Pecan Acres? Nothing. Okay,
Not,
that was you. Thank you.
thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to make citizens' comments?
Good evening, Mayor and Board. John Tolliver, Ward 6. Happy to have you back, Alderman Little. Happy to have you back. First of all, Mayor, thank you so much for serving this country. Thank you so very much. We are aware of your service to this country, and for every other veteran that may hear my puny voice, thank you so much for serving this country and for fighting for me to have the right to speak up. Thank you so much. I know you've already done your budget for the year. I am asking you, the corridor on South Louisville is beautiful, but there's a lot of street foot traffic on Garrett also, and it's dangerous because it's over hills. I'm asking that you will, in your research, will look into maybe finding a way to ease that pressure so that the traffic won't be on a person coming over that hill when they're walking or riding their bike, because I'm sure you and I want the same thing. We don't want anyone else hit by a car in the city. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Toller. Anyone else? Anyone else? All right, I will close for citizen comments. We have no public appearances tonight. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing, which is a public hearing in consideration under Mississippi Code annotated 21-1911 to determine whether the building located at 202 McKinley Street with a parcel number 102B00-026 is a menace to the public health, safety, and welfare of the community. Dr. Kim, you have, let's go with pictures, shall we?
Yes.
Since we've got several of these, I think probably then the board has done this in the past. We'll show the pictures and we'll let the board and,
This is the 202
yes, sir.
McKinley Street.
okay?
And this process started on April 2019, and building officer double-checked on October 9th.
Okay, and I don't think we have to go through that, Dr. Kim. Let me see if I have a motion to, or I'm gonna have to, let me open it as a public hearing. I will do that first. Let me open it as a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to this item, which is the declaration of 202 McKinley as a menace to public health, safety, and welfare of the community. If anyone wishes to speak to this item, please feel free to do so now. Okay. Seeing none, I will close it as a public hearing. Do I have a motion regarding this item?
Move approval.
Okay, I heard a motion from Alderman Vaughn. Alderman Little,
Second.
is second from you? All right. A motion from Alderman Vaughn, a second from Alderman Little. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. It is unanimous. Next item is going to be public hearing consideration under Mississippi Code 21-1911 to determine whether the building located at 333 Long Street with a parcel number 118000031 is a menace to the public health, safety, and welfare of the community. And there we have the pictures yet again. So, all right. Anyone have any questions of Dr. Kim? Okay, let me open this as a public hearing. This again is a public hearing to speak to whether or not this particular address, 333 Long Street, is a menace to the public health, safety, and welfare of the community. Yes, sir, you'd like to come speak to that? If you would identify yourself, please.
My name is Michael Franklin. Property is owned by my mother, who is
Yes,
deceased.
Mr. Franklin, go ahead.
Like I said, the property, my mom died in 2000. She had six brothers and sisters, and we've been trying to tear the property down, but because there are 6 people involved in it, we're having problems doing that. Because we got 2 brothers that don't want to do it, but I'm paying the tax. I'm the only person who's paying the taxes on it. And so what I've decided to do with my other brother, we're going to go ahead and tear it down without the permission. My brother, he started last week working on it, and I want to know, do we have a time limit to tear it down, start tearing it down?
So you are objecting to the city burning it?
I think it's too close to another house to burn. I'm not sure.
I believe Chief Yarborough has looked at it. Chief, can you speak to that? Have you looked at that to determine if you can burn it? Yes, sir. Would you mind? Okay, would you put the picture back up, Dr. Kim? All right. So you have no objection if the fire department can burn it, you have no objection?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and if the fire department determines they cannot burn it, you wish to have a little extra time in which
Yes,
to
ma'am.
tear it down?
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
accurate?
Yeah.
I believe this declaration of it being a public health, safety, and menace to public health and safety gives you some time to tear it down if we find we can't burn it.
Right.
So, we can work with you on that. Is that satisfactory?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, Chief. You'll get back with us and let us know.
So would there be a cost of burning it?
No, sir, I believe we've already borne that, well, we will bear that cost of burning it. There may be a cost associated with the asbestos,
Okay.
but other than that, I don't believe there's a cost associated.
Okay. Now, when
Okay.
will I know whether or not you'll be able to?
Well,
Okay. Okay, all right.
thank you, sir. Anything else you wish to
No,
say
ma'am,
to
thank
us?
you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Anyone else to speak to the public hearing?
You still want adjudication on this issue?
Yes, I
Set the
do.
1 year
Yes.
clock.
Mhm. All right, if there's no one else, I'll close it as a public hearing. Do I have a motion from the board?
Move.
Move approval of declaring it as a menace to the public health, safety, and welfare, and that is for 333 Long Street. I have a motion from Alderman Vaughn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Alderman Little. Further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. All right. Next item is public hearing consideration under Mississippi Code annotated 21-1911 to determine whether the building located at 606 Whitfield Street with a parcel number 102C00-15500 is a menace to the public health, safety, and welfare of the community. And we have the pictures up there. Any questions of Dr. Kim before I open it as a public hearing? Seeing none, I'll open it as a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to the 606 Whitfield address as a menace to public health, safety, and welfare, now would be the time. And if you would identify yourself, please, ma'am.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice President, Mayor, Board of Aldermen. I'm here about 606 Whitfield.
Yes, ma'am.
I talked with my brothers
Could
and
you identify yourself, please,
Oh,
ma'am?
I'm sorry, my name is Annie Gail Stallings.
Ms. Stallings, okay.
And the home was my mother's, she's deceased now. My brothers and sister, they want to try to rehab the building. And we want to see what it would entail, how long would we have to try to do that.
Okay. Dr. Kim, would you speak to what our code
Yes,
allows?
I already had a discussion with her today before the meeting. After the adjudication today, we have 1 year to remove the
To take
building.
action.
Yes, so I have some time to work with them. If I see them applying for the building permit and work on it diligently, we can let her renovate the building. But if that lasts for a while, we can just remove the building. There are
Okay.
some options.
All right, thank you. Any questions of Dr. Kim about this? All right, Ms. Stallings, is there anything else you'd like to say to us? Do you know how long it will take you to?
I am not 100% sure. My brother didn't come, the one that's gonna be doing a lot of the work. But we would like some time to get started. I know my one brother wants to start off putting a roof on it, and then they wanna go from there. We're gonna see how much it's gonna take us, and I was wondering, should we see if we can't do it, if we can get it torn down? I know it's a stone building, and I know that we can't afford to haul all of that off. So that's why we're really considering going ahead and rehabbing it. I have one brother that wants to rehab it and to live there.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, well, you have a year. If we take action tonight, you will have a year
Okay.
to show some sort of progress on that.
All right.
Okay? All right, is that satisfactory?
That's satisfactory.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Anything
All
else you
right,
wish to
thank
say
you.
about this?
That's all I have.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you
right.
all.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'll close it as a public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mayor.
I have a motion from Alderman Little. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Alderman Vaughn. Further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, public hearing, next item is public hearing consideration under Mississippi Code 21-1911 to determine whether the building located at 722 Vine Street with a parcel number 102H-00-170 is a menace to the public health, safety, and welfare of the community. We have the pictures that are up there. Any questions of Dr. Kim before I open it as a public hearing? All right, seeing none, I'll open it as a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to the address of 722 Vine Street, now would be your opportunity. All right, seeing none, I will close it as a public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
I have a motion from Alderman Vaughn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Alderman Little. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you very much. I think it's all unanimous. Next item, E, is a public hearing and consideration under Mississippi Code annotated 21-1911 to determine whether the property located at 225 Garrett Road with a parcel number 118G-00-011.00 is a menace to the public health, safety, and welfare of the community. We have the pictures. There are a number of pictures, I believe, that Mr. Kim has up there, or Dr. Kim has up there, excuse me. So, any questions of Dr. Kim?
Yeah,
Alderman
I noticed
Carver.
this is not so much like the rest of them are wooden properties, and more about the home structures. This pertaining solely to the construction and junk from the salvage in the yard?
That's correct. This one does not involve in the building itself. This
But it-
one is more about the junk vehicles and the construction debris and those overgrown yards and those issues.
And so the city wouldn't be addressing anything with the bricks, the home, it would just be about the items within the yard?
Yeah, cleaning the yard.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Okay, all right. No other questions of Dr. Kim? Okay, I'll open it as a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to this item now is an opportunity.
Mayor Gary Good.
Thank you, sir.
For Mr. Coaches, we have a chair. We want us to sit here. or
We have lots of chairs. If you would stand, that'd be great, because that's where the mic is.
It'll be fine. We have a letter with some exhibits that we would just like to make a part of the record, and we have a copy for everyone.
Okay.
I don't know. You want the clerk?
Let's give them to the city clerk, please, sir.
There we go, and there's a copy of each one. I would like to preface my remarks by saying, if you'll notice on Exhibit A of these copies, we get a notice. And basically it doesn't, I understand why you, I guess why you do it, but we get a notice, but it doesn't specifically say what you want moved, what needs to be moved, or whatever. I noticed that there has been some effort by Mr. O'Quist. The truck is now running, and he's got a place to move it to. He's waiting for that place to dry out. It's outside the city limits, and as soon as he can get it dry, he's gonna move that big truck, that army truck that you saw. Most of the other items, Mr. O'Quist, this proceeding was brought, I assume, because in punishment for Mr. O'Quist, essentially appealing the decision of the city court, convicting him of a criminal act. Now, that's fine if you want to bring it, but let me just say this, and it's set forth in my letter. I don't see anything in the statute that allows anybody to go on the property from the city administrative office or anything else, absent some kind of like a police emergency or something like that. The only evidence that was determined, or that I think the city judge heard about any nuisance to anybody, was that a neighbor had seen a possum come across his yard from Mr. O'Quist's property. The city inspector had gotten a chigger from being on the property, and one of the neighbors said a mosquito bit him one afternoon, and when he's in his backyard. Now, that doesn't really sound like a meal menace. Now, let me say this.
Mr. Goodwin, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I do want you to know we do have a time limit on these, so I apologize for not saying that right up front. So you have 15 minutes for a public hearing, for a public hearing opportunity for you. Unless the board wishes, and I should have said it, unless the board wishes to extend it, we typically have a 15 minutes per side.
Well, we asked for a list. The first day we came over here, after he got summoned to court. Now, I will say he wasn't arrested, but he was summoned to court, criminal court. And we asked for a list of exactly what Mr. Lyles wanted us to do. Mr. Lyles, where's the one that was still? Okay. You don't think we got one of the?
No, I got
We got the wrong map. There is a tax map that will show, I think, probably that the area up there at the corner of where this property is, there are two houses adjacent. This property is in Plantation Homes, but it fronts Garrett Road. There's one more residence that has just as much woods on it between this dwelling and the other dwelling. It fronts Garrett Road. Those two lots are in Plantation Homes. The lot backs up to another lot that has woods in it like our lot, and then you get to Bridle Path. So this does not border Bridle Path, and it borders only one other lot in Plantation Homes. It does border two houses on Hiwassee. Now, in order to get these photographs, you have to go over there on the property and trespass to get them. I mean, I think we all know that in order to get a search warrant, you got to serve probable cause. And if you'll bear with me, I know this is, but I think the point is this sort of a tautology, is that you can't prove you can't show the probable cause unless you go there. So what are you seeing from the public right of way? You know, None of that shot from the public right of way. The only thing shot maybe from the public right of way you can see is that truck. So I'm not saying that Mr. O'Queeson might not need to clean his property up, but we were after the court. First day we came here, give us a list. Tell us what you want to do. Well, we just want you to comply with the statute. And the statute or the ordinance is set forth in the affidavit that was filed and sent to us, just like this notice was attached. But it doesn't say what we need to do. I come over here tonight thinking you wanted to tear the house down. You know, I don't know. I think that's probably next, because the reason the outer boundaries, Mr. O'Queeson let it go up, because nobody is living there. They don't want to sell the property, they want to keep it, but nobody's living there. Okay? Now, it might not be the way you would arrange your property, but one of the things about the way the property is now is that it's not serving as a walkthrough from people on Garrett Road or up in Rolling Hills coming through and walking through Bridle Path through Plantation Homes, which, if that was going on, you'd have Plantation Homes people up here saying, stop all that from going on. People don't come on this property. People don't get on this property. People don't bother this property. The only people that have been on the property that complained about it in city court were the two trespassers. Lyles didn't have a warrant. Dr. Kim didn't have a warrant the day he went with Lyles. And Mr. McDavid living next door, he didn't have a warrant either. And the fact is, he admitted he couldn't see any of this stuff unless he actually went on the property. So he did have the mosquito and he did have the opossum, and we had the chigger with Dr. Kim. But, I mean, if it's a public nuisance, it ought to be viewed from it ought to be observed from a public place. You know? Now, on private property, adjacent, if you can see it from there, but there's no photographs taken from the private property that appear that they're causing any trouble. We weren't furnished these photographs, I don't believe, especially with this petition. They might have been furnished in some of the discovery in court. Once again, you know, without a warrant going on, there's a reason a warrant's required. A judicial warrant based on probable cause that a criminal violation's occurred. Same thing, this is a quasi-civil proceeding. Mississippi has always, the Mississippi Supreme Court's always said Article 23 protects all of your property, not just your house, not just your curtilage of your house either, which is where you kind of move around. So, you know, one of the things that if you want to do something, you know, and that's my point, there's really nothing to do because it's really not bothering anybody. I don't see where it's bothering anybody. But the minute you start cleaning it up, is the minute that he's gonna have people going in there and breaking it. He's gonna have people putting gang signs on the wall. He's gonna paint his house. He's gonna have people going through there. I mean, I know what kids do. I was a kid myself. You know, and it certainly is not the worst place in the area over there. The worst place in the area is over there, that pond that the city owns across the street that's never been cleaned up. It's full of moss and mosquitoes. It's donated by Rolling Hills. Look at the tax map. The tax map's available if y'all look at it online. Look at the tax map and look at how much of the property around there, including right next to this house, across the street, has the same kind of woods and other things, but I don't see anything on there. What, I mean, there's looks like some firewood's been stacked right there. I mean, does he want, you know, or some logs? I mean, is that what we need moved? There may be some things in there that might need to be moved that you might not have on your property, but it's certainly not offending anybody else who's not trespassing. And so that's kind of our position about it. You know, but like I said, recognizing the fact that truck does not need to be there because it is in a lot in Plantation Homes. That truck will be gone very shortly. So that's all I'm saying is, you know, it's only fair if you're gonna tell us to do something. Give us a list. We couldn't get the list in city court that day. We had to get a continuance. When we came back, we didn't have another list. The court ordered Mr. Lyles to meet with my client on a day certain and make a list. Mr. Lyles didn't even come to the meeting and called and left a message that said that based on the advice of either the city attorney or the city prosecutor, he wasn't coming. You know, so we never got our list, despite the fact that the court orders that list. We never, we just got in here and got convicted, you know, with the judge telling us it was his policy that if he wanted to plead guilty, then he could, the judge would hold it over his head in abeyance as a non-adjudication until such time as he did what the city told him to do, which, of course, we still couldn't get a list. And that he wouldn't convict him, he'd dismiss it if he got the city satisfied. So how would you feel about it if you went over there and you didn't have a list and you just had to figure out, how do I get within the bounds of this ordinance?
Counselor, what's it gonna take to get the property cleaned up?
Well, I think that we need a list, first of all, Mr. Baker.
Okay. I think we can provide a list.
At least that gives us a place to
And
start.
once we get that list, are y'all going to clean the will your client clean the property up? Or are we just gonna continue this thing into perpetuity?
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll do everything reasonable, and we'll appeal the rest if you find anything unreasonable.
Our reasoning, our position on this is to get the property cleaned up because it does affect property values. It does affect the people in that neighborhood, and some have complained. And any reasonable person that looks at the junk on this property would agree with that. This is not out somewhere 5 miles out on Josie Road in the country. This is in the city limits of Starkville, next to two nice neighborhoods. And this needs to be cleaned up. And if it takes a list, there needs to be a list for that to happen. We can provide a list.
Alderman Beatty, if I may. Dr. Kim, have you provided a list to?
Yes, I already provided a list, and they have it. If you wish, you can adjudicate this property today, and they will have a year to improve the property. And I will correspond that list again with them and have a discussion.
Was the list included in the slides associated with this item on the agenda?
I am not sure, but I provided
Okay,
that.
but you
that's
have
for
provided
sure.
a list. All right, thank you. Alderman Beatty, anything further? Alderman Beatty?
No, I just think that I think that the residents in the area that are concerned about this and complaining about it would like to see some resolution to this. And I think that we as the city of Starkville are acting in good faith and trying to be reasonable about this, but we do feel like, and the neighbors up there feel like, that this needs to be cleaned up. And we all agree that it's a mess. And I don't think there's any questioning that.
May I respond?
Mr. Goodwin, how much? Yes, you may. Yes,
Just
you may.
wanted to say this.
You have 3 minutes.
He did say there was a list. What we had was a series of photographs with the photograph, some of them like this, and a copy of the city ordinance, which is certainly not this statute that you're going under. A copy of a city ordinance just attached right there as part of, some definition. So, I mean, like for example, how much poison ivy you got to clean up? Do we have to get it off of every tree on the lot? Do you want all the trees down? Do you want, what do you want?
I want that junk cleaned up and removed. If my house were next to that property, I'd be right there with these residents. I promise you. This is inexcusable, and carrying this on and just continuing to delay it and things. We'll provide a list. We need to see some action. Need to see this being cleaned up in a reasonable length of time.
Thank Thank you. Anything further from anyone on the board? Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. Appreciate it. All right. All right. We'll close it as a public hearing. Do I have any discussion from the board about this at this point? Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I have a motion from Alderman Beatty. Do I have a second?
What is the motion?
Motion is to declare it as a, let me get my language exactly right, as a menace to the public health, safety, and welfare of the community. That would be parcel number I read out earlier, 118G-00-011 and 225 Garrett Road.
I've just got a couple questions.
Alderman Carter. Well, let me get a second first, and then we'll entertain discussion. Do I have a second for this motion? Second. I have a second from Alderman Sistrunk. All right, now, Alderman Carter.
Just some things I've taken notes listening to the conversation. Is it, for the city attorney, is it permissible or legal for a city employee to go on a private property up to the home to take pictures?
I think so, under City Code Section 54107. That code section is under the city's nuisance code section, which is what this property falls under, the city ports. It says the chief of police, his designees, or the building official or his designees may enter upon private property for the purposes specified in this article, those purposes being to abate a nuisance. I looked at the case that Mr. Goodwin cited in his letter while he was talking, Crook versus City of Madison. I don't think it's tight enough to compel the city's action otherwise. I think the city has a right to take those pictures under 54107.
Okay. Secondly, I guess for Dr. Kim, what is the proposed plan for this scrap metal, and it obviously has value on the market? So what was the city's plan for a lot of this stuff is heavy and worth a lot of money? What was the plan with the scrap metal after it was, what do you do with it?
We're gonna have to go inside and estimate the cleanup values first, because we went in there and took some pictures, and as the owner's attorney mentioned that what we could do was attach the copy of the ordinance, because it is a legal document. The staff cannot actually put into the opinion. So after we getting into the property with the professional cleanup crew, and we will measure the cost, and then we gotta have to start from there.
Okay. Third question is, I guess I would personally like to see like a very specific list of the property, of the specific, and I think pictures do justification, but put it in writing for the applicant, something that he knows exactly what needs to go, if certain trees need to be cut, what. I think it just needs to be put into from a picture form. And
Yes, so
ordinance
what I
form.
provided to the owner was the specific pictures, that junk vehicle, for example, the junk vehicle is on it, and then copy the code sections, talks about the junk vehicle. And if it is a construction debris, I talked about the construction debris. So there shouldn't be any confusion in between the pictures and what I talked about.
Okay, and then lastly, I think Mr. Aquison has acted in good faith. I know he's gotten in the truck, he's gotten it operational and had some issues with it, but speaking with him, I think he's getting ready to move the truck, and I think that's also for the city attorney. It looks like this is also already, there was appeal decision by the municipal court, and the case was heard on September 23rd, 2019. Consequently, it is anticipated that will a full hearing be held in February 2020?
That's what we anticipate.
And I think it'd be my recommendation as an alderman to table it until then. What is the hurry on doing it between now, right before court date?
You asking me?
Either one, the mayor or the.
Oh, well, no, I was gonna say, he has a year. It's like we've given everybody else a year to get it cleaned up so that there's no issue. If he were to work to do that, then it wouldn't be a problem. He's got that year.
So the year starts from tonight?
From whenever the board makes that declaration.
And then if something were found to be, in contrast to this on February 2020, that would just reverse our decision tonight?
The way to look at it, Alderman Carver, is it's two different paths. One is the municipal code enforcement path in municipal court, which we've had the municipal court hearing. Mr. Goodwin has appealed that hearing up to the circuit court. That's pending before the circuit court now. We expect that to be adjudicated by the circuit court in February. This is the legislative path under 21-1911, separate statutory construction that the city is traveling under. So basically, it's kind of an attack on two fronts, if you will, one from a code enforcement standpoint and one from a legislative standpoint. If something happens in the circuit court in February that bears on the legislative aspect, we'll absolutely take that into consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Sistrunk, I saw your hand.
I just wanted to be sure that I understood correctly. They will have a year, and if things are moved and sold, that's a non-issue as far as the city goes, that they have a year to clean it up and do whatever with the junk that's on there, so, debris.
Okay, all right. Anyone else?
Yes.
Alderman Beatty.
I'll defer to the councilor.
The public hearing piece is over with, Mr. Goodwin. If one of the aldermen has a question of you, certainly, but for the time being, Alderman Beatty.
Mayor, I'd just like to see us get some resolution on this. And I hate to see this thing go another year and it's come back this time next year because there's been nothing done. And to Alderman Carver's thing about the truck, the truck's tip of the iceberg on this thing. There's a lot of junk out here. It needs to be cleaned up. And I mean, if a list, a specific list of things that need to be done to mitigate or to solve this problem would help, I mean, I'd be in favor of that. I mean, let's list what needs to be done. I agree with the council on that. But let's move to get it cleaned up.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Alderman Carver?
Did you say we could grant Mr.
Yeah,
Goodwin?
if the board likes to, you certainly can. But, from a public hearing standpoint, that was.
I would, just on it, if you've got something that,
Only about the deliberation part. I think y'all are in deliberations. I know that. That's all I wanted to say. I just had a suggestion. The easiest, I think, that if we get a list, we got a roadmap to go by, not just some guesswork. And like I said in my letter, somebody saying, that's good enough. You got to work until that's good enough. Well, okay, so, why continue to hassle a man in city court? Why, we got there's a second letter pending, and we got the first case on appeal. But, there's no reason y'all can't tell the prosecutor to continue the case. If he shows he's making progress.
May I ask you, Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Lane.
Gary, I should have said this off the top. Good to see you. I appreciate your vigorous advocacy for Mr. O'Queeson. Certainly, if you guys clean up the property, I think an argument could be made that the civil municipal court action could be made moot, and we wouldn't go forward to prosecute if there was nothing forward to prosecute.
Thank you. All right, and we will be sure to get a list. Anyone?
Mayor, may we recognize?
Vice Mayor.
Mr. Attorney, it seems like there's some a lot of interest in the list aspect of it. I agree with the gentleman from 5. The property definitely needs to be cleaned up. What I would like to see, the department head has indicated from his testimony that he has given a list, and I have not specifically seen that list. What I personally like to see is I like to see that, Mr. Attorney, perhaps if the board directs or allows this method, to see that you, if the board allows it, to get with the department heads to delineate that list, and the list needs to be given to the attorney. I like to see it sent to him, certified mail, return, receipt, requested. And I've seen the photographs, and I'm ready to vote that it is a public nuisance. It's a detriment to the health, safety, and welfare in violation of the statute. But I will be willing, since the department head has specified he's given the list, if the board allows it, for you to just reduce that list to writing as already given by the department head, so it can be given to attorney opposite, and that whatever time the board wants to give him to clean it up. And it seemed like that this case, a matter of this public health issue, has been before this governing body for an extended period of time. So I'm not in agreement for an extended period of time, but I like to see that's what the will of the board, to give it the list in writing, give it to the attorney, because the attorney is basically conceding the fact that if you have a list, he'll get it cleaned up. So let's give him the list and let's get the property cleaned up like it should be. And I'm just going to say to all involved, including this respected attorney, and that, you know, I'm going to be in favor of strict compliance, just like I have done to everybody else. Nobody get a pass here from the vice mayor. I've done it to the churches and everybody else in this city, and I'm not going to give anybody else a break. So I said all that to say, if the board is in agreement to do that, if they want to do that, attorney, you want to draft a motion, if they want to do that so it can satisfy everybody. But I think if we would give a list of all the deficiencies that amount to the violation as deemed by, you know, in violation of the law, and give it to this attorney through certified mail return receipt with a time certain, and we expect strict compliance with the statute. If not, then we'll go in and do it like we do all the other properties, if that's what the board wants to do. But I just wanted to articulate that. Mayor, I yield.
Vice Mayor, Alderman Beatty, would you like to add Vice Mayor's language, specific
Yes,
language
please
to your
amend
motion?
my motion to that.
Okay.
Okay.
So specifically, it would be with a list of specific items.
Do you want me to just draft something up real quick?
Attorney Latimer, that would be lovely.
Okay, well, let's just take a 3-minute break. This will be
Okay.
real fast, and
All
I'll
right.
draft it up.
That's acceptable to the board. We'll have a 3-minute recess. Thank you. Beatty, you wanna be ready to accept that?
Yes,
once you've read
yes.
it? Okay.
Okay.
Attorney Lau.
Move approval to determine that the property located at 225 Garrett Road with parcel number 118G-00-011.00 is a menace to the public health, safety, and welfare of the community pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated section symbol 211911, and that the Director of Community Development resubmit the original list and provide an additional list specifically defining and enumerating the action the city requires from the homeowner under Mississippi Code annotated 211911, and that both lists be provided to Attorney Gary Goodwin by certified mail, return receipt requested, and that the homeowner has until January 5th, 2020 to clean the property consistent with the list provided, or the city will take steps to clean the property consistent with Mississippi Code annotated 211911.
Okay. Alderman Beatty, does that meet with your?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and I had a second, I believe, Alderman Little, was that you? Or Alderman Sistrunk, I'm sorry. Is that acceptable to you?
It is. Would the city attorney clarify the dates for me? I thought they had a year.
Well, see, so,
Because of the other action, it's a shorter time.
no, so technically, under 211911, if the board adjudicates the property as a menace tonight, the city can clean it tomorrow.
Okay.
There's no one-year waiting period.
Okay, thank
There's
you.
just a one-year period to where the city can travel under this adjudication.
Okay, got it.
So,
All right, thanks.
Alderman Sistrunk, is acceptable to you?
Yes.
All right. Further discussion? Alderman Vaughn.
What if some rainy days come in?
so I didn't hear that.
Rainy
What if
days?
rainy days come in?
Alderman Beatty, any?
Good concession for that.
Board, I originally had 16 days and
60 days.
60 days, excuse me, which takes us out to, no, what's 60 days from November the 5th? It still takes us to.
That's January.
So that's where we landed.
And may I respond to that?
Yeah.
And Mayor, I think the date he has is reasonable. It accommodates, including rainy days. So that's reason, given the size of this property.
Okay, all right, so everyone's still comfortable with January 5th for cleanup. All right, anything further? All right, I have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
I have a 6-1. Alderman Carver is a nay vote. All right, and the motion carries. Thank you. Gentlemen, y'all may step back.
Can I know what the first date of your, meeting in January is, first, from January?
First Tuesday.
Yes, it would be the first Tuesday, which it would be, and I'll be happy to look this up for you. The
That's
first
fine.
Tuesday is gonna be the 7th of January.
So the last day in December, in case we have to file
17th.
a request for an extension?
That would be the 17th.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Y'all can stay put, but we're gonna take another item up. Alderman Walker?
Yeah, if it pleases the board, I would like to, under item 10, under board business, item number C, consideration of the two applicants to fill a vacancy for the Oktibbeha County Heritage Museum, appointment that will begin November 6th through 2019 and end November 6th, 2022. I would like to recommend approval of Corey Gallo to that position.
All right, I have a motion from Alderman Walker for Corey Gallo for that position, and I have a second from Alderman Sistrunk. Did I hear you?
Yes.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, next item in order would be the public hearing consideration of conditional use 1907. Request for conditional use for allow for residential use on C2 commercially zoned property located approximately 700 feet west of the intersection of Lynn Lane and South Montgomery Street, south side of Lynn Lane, parcel number, et cetera. This is the one that we took up at the last board meeting that we tabled until now. So, any presentation that y'all wish to make? Has anything changed since our last?
Nothing has changed. Well, there has been some communication, and I believe Alderman Walker will get into that. I just want to make sure I say this, that it was re-noticed as a public hearing on October 17th in the paper and by mail.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any discussion at this point? Alderman Walker, do you want to go ahead and take up what you want to do, or shall I open the public hearing?
I would say you can open.
Okay, I'll open this as a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to this matter, and this is conditional use 1907, now would be the time. If you would identify yourself, please, sir.
George Berry, 52 Riddle Run.
Mr. Berry?
Appreciate the opportunity to speak to you about the proposed lot development. I am a resident of Riddle Run, and I'm concerned about this development. The proposed Valentine property, the Maison DeVille and Riddle Run are about 26 acres of residential, owner-occupied, family homes and condos. Those of us that purchased Riddle Run, Maison DeVille, and to purchase in the Valentine area have the belief that these properties would be owner-occupied residence. Our neighborhood would be owner-occupied residence, and we would have a belief that we would have some form of stable property values. What Mr. Cracker is proposing, we believe, will materially impact that environment and materially impact our property values. He proposes to build on 1 acre adjacent to our neighborhood, next to, in the middle of, however you want to describe this one lot, 24 bedrooms, 24 parking lots, parking places. No restrictions on owner occupancy. In our belief, this is an investment property, and it's just student housing looking for a place to land. As I said, I believe it will have material impact upon our neighborhood and our property values. Now, I know that a developer has certain rights to develop his property, but I believe that homeowners that are in that environment, in that neighborhood, have some rights with regard to what is going to be built around us. So what I would like to recommend is that if Mr. Cracker does not agree that this will be owner-occupied family residence, that you deny this application. If he agrees, then I believe we can move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. Anyone else wishing to speak to this matter?
Dean Wingo, and I live at 101 Maison DeVille. And along the lines of what he said, yeah, we're asking for a conditional use. All right, that's fine. If he wants to have a conditional use granted, he should be compatible with what's in the neighborhood. All the neighborhood is owner occupied and has covenants to that effect, that it will be owner occupied. And I don't think we would have a whole lot of problem with him doing what he wants to do so long as it's owner occupied. So I just think it needs to be compatible with all the others to protect our property values. I think it came up earlier, we want to protect property values. So I also would like to say it needs to be compatible with the neighborhood, with owner occupation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wingo. All right, anyone else? Anyone else? Mr. Cracker, do you want to come up and say anything? It's a public hearing, it would be an opportunity for you to do so.
I guess I'm Slade Cracker. One of the common terms that we've used all night and in other meetings is reasonable. I think that I've been pretty reasonable with the agreeing on all the other conditions except for that one hang up being the rental. And it's the same as last time, the market takes care of itself on that, but as a developer, I wouldn't want to tell somebody they couldn't buy something that I have for sale if they want to use it as a rental. So again, that's property right. And I disagree with somebody's statement, you know, you do have property rights on your footprint, but I don't think that you should have property rights to tell your neighbor what to do. Again, the city takes care of that with their ordinances and stuff. So And as far as the density and the eight units and 3 bedrooms, 24, it's the same density as Mason DeVille, so.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cracker. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, I will close it as a public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry.
My name is Dudley Morgan. My husband and I bought a unit at 44 Riddle Run, and we agree with the other two. We're just concerned that we've made our investment, and knowing that Mason DeVille had the same covenants that we have, and we would just like for all of the properties in our area to uphold the same ideas and not have rentals. And
All right, thank you,
Thanks.
Ms. Morgan. Okay. All right, seeing no one else, I will close it as a public hearing. Discussion among the board. Do I have a motion, or do you want to?
No motion yet. I just want
Alderman
to have a quick recap from the last meeting, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. We're talking about what the options would be for this property. And city planner, you please correct me if I misstep along the way. Right now, this property is currently zoned C2, which means by right, it could be developed as commercial properties, a list that's pretty long of what the developer could develop by right. In this case, it is a conditional use seeking to turn that into a residential property. What has been presented is a cottage court style of development. With that, we were able to place conditions that would go with this actual use of the property with this application. If this property were to be denied this tonight, making the assumption that this board is going to approve the code redevelopment sometime in or around December of this year, that's the schedule that we're on. If that were to be approved, the zoning for this underlying property is traditional neighborhood new.
Correct.
Okay, inside of that, the developer would be able to develop by right single-family detached housing. Correct. So they would be able to develop essentially a similar type of housing stock as this, without the opportunity for conditions to be added, with the exception of additional standards that they would have to meet. Is that?
I have to refer back to the chart. I don't have it with me, but I
Okay.
believe it's still a special exception process, which is.
If you're doing the cottage court.
If you're doing the cottage court style specific.
So, okay, so with that, you would have the opportunity to have some much reduced level of commercial type development that would be allowed by a special exception.
Correct.
You would have townhomes like Riddle Run. You would have row houses potentially that would be able to be built on the property.
Correct.
Okay. Is there, the question I have is related to, I think there seems to be agreement on many of the items with the exception of owner occupied. If this is denied tonight and you get to where they're able to develop this property in a similar style, is that a condition that could be added to this parcel, or that a similar type of project if and when this is approved moving forward? The code is adopted moving forward.
The rental condition?
Yes.
I believe so.
Yes.
City Attorney?
Okay, thank you. That was the question I had, and I've had conversations with the residents. They've gone back and forth. They've drafted a series of conditions, and I'm going to I placed those at the table tonight, hoping to spur some discussion of where we are. I've been in consultation with the city attorney on what we think we can and what we can't do. And I don't want to speak for the city attorney. I'm going to let him do that. But as what's presented in front of us right now, I feel pretty good about 1 through 9, and 10 essentially compels the developer to establish a series of covenants that would monitor or enforce the owner occupancy. Can you expand on that, your interpretation of that, please?
I can, and just to set that up, so our conditional use zoning code allows the board to place, quote, specific conditions of approval on a conditional use. So you can load up with how many conditions that you want. The key is that they have to be rationally related to the 5-factor criteria for conditional use that's in the staff report. In other words, they can't be arbitrary and capricious. So the issue then is a rental restriction from a covenant standpoint rationally related, in my mind, to factor number 1, which is land use compatibility? In other words, is it rationally related to this development being compatible and harmonious with adjacent land use and not adversely impact land use activities in the immediate vicinity? And I think that's a defensible position against an arbitrary and capricious challenge. What we know a city can't do is can't attach a condition that the city would enforce about no rentals, because the city doesn't have enforcement power in that regard generally over no rentals in this long-term rental context. But what the city's doing here with the proposed condition is allowing it to be a covenant restriction that would be between the developer and the condo owners. And the truth of the matter is, if the developer ceded the development over to the owners association at one point in time and they wanted to amend those covenants, they could. But the city wouldn't have anything to do with that. So that's the only way to do it, is through covenants and restrictions, we think, which is the way condition number 10 is drafted.
So regardless of what, if I understood you correctly, so regardless of what was imposed here tonight, ultimately the homeowners association could make any of those changes subject to their own internal votes.
The way those documents are written, but the initial covenants will have a no rental, well, they'll say what condition 10 says, which it has to be owner occupied or occupied by immediate family members as defined in condition 10.
Which they could change.
So the way it works is the developer holds on to the covenants and declarations
Until he turns
until a
it over.
certain time.
That's right.
Once he turns it over, once those owners get together, they can do whatever they want.
And that would be true of Maison DeVille or Riddle Run?
Any development.
Anything further? Alderman Beatty, I see you.
Always. Does Maison DeVille have a homeowner, a primary homeowner occupancy, no rental agreement? I mean, your covenants have that in there.
I
Okay.
see nodding heads out of the audience. Okay. All right, any other discussion?
I've got
Alderman Little.
the Valentine property that we just approved a few months ago. This was not imposed on them. Someone could rent a house, if I recall. Am I correct?
I don't know if they had homeowners association or not.
I believe it was listed.
They
as
did
a
have a
condition.
homeowners association?
It was not a stipulation.
I believe it was listed as a condition, but they put that in.
For rental? Okay.
Yeah, we think it was substantially similar to condition 10,
All
to
right.
be consistent with what's going on in the neighborhood.
Okay. Do you want to read condition 10? Do you want to read these conditions? Is that
Yeah,
what you planning on doing that?
I was going to say, I move approval.
Okay. All right.
With the following 10 conditions, and y'all bear with me, I'll read these. Condition 1, the subject property shall have a maximum of 8 single-family detached residential dwellings constructed with a maximum height of 1.5 story with a pitched roof and limited to a maximum of 3 bedrooms each. 2, to encourage compatible development with the adjacent existing residential neighborhoods, all dwellings in the subject property are to be constructed with comparable building materials, features, and finishes. 3, parking areas and common areas in the subject property shall be owned and maintained commonly by the development's residents through an association and shall not be dedicated to or maintained by the city. 4, the subject property's construction cannot be phased. Certificates of occupancy will be issued when all dwelling units, parking areas, driveways, and common areas are complete. 5, the Development Review Committee shall examine the site plan to ensure proper use of mitigative techniques are used to eliminate adverse impacts to neighboring property owners as much as practically feasible. 6, the grading and drainage improvements required for the development of the subject property shall demonstrate to the Development Review Committee that the design plan will not result in stormwater runoff onto the adjacent Maison DeVille development. 7, the subject property shall incorporate a site development design and plan with a minimum 10-foot buffer yard and screening toward the Maison DeVille west property line. This buffer yard shall have placed within its space a sufficient number of evergreen trees or similarly agreeable landscaping greenery that produces a mature width of at least 4 feet and a height of 15 feet or higher and properly spaced to provide a solid visual screening and buffer. This buffer yard will also include suitable fencing and/or solid wall installed to provide a privacy barrier, screen, and buffer towards the western property line of Maison DeVille. 8, the planning department shall review the window locations on the proposed dwellings along the subject's property's east property line to protect property owner privacy as part of the building permit. 9, the HOA president of Maison de Ville will be notified by city staff via email of the meeting date for site plan review by the Development Review Committee for this conditional use. 10, to maximize compatibility with the subject property's use and physical design with the existing adjacent neighborhoods, and with consideration of a balance of the rights of all individual property owners, lots and structures developed on the subject property will be maintained by a declaration of developer created and submitted covenants, conditions, and restrictions as a condominium or homeowner association to be compatible to those of neighboring developments associations. This declaration shall include as one condition that all lots and structures in the development shall be occupied by the owner or owner's immediate family for the purpose of a private residence. Immediate family shall be defined as owner's grandfather, grandmother, father, stepfather, mother, stepmother, spouse, partner, sister, stepsister, brother, stepbrother, son, stepson, daughter, stepdaughter, and grandchildren only. This will be consistent with the established adjacent property.
Okay, that is your motion with those conditions?
Yes.
All right, do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
I have a second from Alderman Sistrunk. Further discussion? Alderman Beatty.
Mayor, going back to Alderman Walker's comments, and number 5, the Development Review Committee shall examine the site plan to ensure proper use of mitigative techniques are used to eliminate adverse impacts to neighborhood property owners. I mean, that's pretty vague. What does that specifically mean?
Say, Alderman Beatty, I believe that was a condition that was added at the Planning and Zoning meeting. And so,
I mean, the term mitigative techniques. I mean, I'm not pushing, but I'm just saying that what all would that entail? Would that mean if there's a problem that the design review committee would step in and work with the developer and with council? What would?
I can attempt to address that because I wrote that condition
Okay.
at the planning and zoning meeting because, of course, this property was heavily debated at that time as it is now. And what that does is attempt to address factor number 3 in the conditional use test in your packet, which says proper use of mitigative techniques. So if there are any mitigative techniques that would help the concerns of the Maison de Ville homeowners, the DRC committee would be on high alert for that and would add those in at the design review phase.
Okay. And one other thing, under number 6, Mayor, where he talks about that in stormwater will not result in stormwater runoff onto the adjacent Maison de Ville development, I think we need to add the language that says, or any other additional property downstream from this development.
Alderman Walker, that was your motion. Do you wish to add that
I'm just saying that.
language?
I would say, I'm not opposed to adding that. I would say that all of that site pretty much drains to Lynn Lane. Is that correct?
I know there's a hill in the back, so some water is definitely going to the south.
Okay.
Mr. Kemp, Edward, would you mind coming up? I think you probably have looked at it from a stormwater standpoint, have you not?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that they've submitted a full survey on that property. I think it's been a
They have
conceptual
not.
plan.
We've looked at it in discussions with Andy Fournier, who's developing the Valentine property, and discussing how they could possibly work together on several issues. And I don't remember the site plan on the top of my head, but I know that there is some water on that south side. There's a hill. Because there is the hill has a top to it. So it has a top on the property, obviously it slopes down. So some water is going in that direction. Toward the Maison, toward the south, toward Valentine. As far as going toward Maison de Ville, I believe there's minimum water probably.
So the majority is going to Lynn Lane?
No question, the majority is going toward Lynn Lane. There's
Some
very,
side, a little bit
very, a
south.
little bit on the top of that hill that very likely will drain back to the south. And so we can modify, Alderman Beatty, what is your recommendation there?
That you add the language, and I'll let the councilor clean this up, city attorney clean this up, but that we add that the floodwater, stormwater runoff would include any additional property,
Any
adjacent development or property that would be, I started to say downstream, but any that could be potentially affected by this development.
So I have two thoughts to that. One is the simple fix of will not result in stormwater runoff onto the adjacent properties, and just leave it at that.
Okay.
But the thing that's on my mind is water, has to go somewhere.
And it is.
And so I think a cleaner thing to do legally, and I think it would be a more liberal approach, it would allow more stormwater flow, but that may be a practical reality, is that the design plan shall comply with the city's stormwater ordinance, and just let our law be the law.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
So in that case, city attorney, are you, would we be tagging that to the end of 6, or would that replace 6?
No, I think we could tag that on. The grading and drainage improvements required for the development of the subject property shall demonstrate to the Development Review Committee that the design plan complies with the City of Starkville stormwater ordinance.
Okay, Alderman Walker, does that meet with your agreement with your motion?
It does. I have one question for the city engineer related to that. Would be the way the way it read previously was that will not result in stormwater runoff onto the adjacent Maison de Ville. In our ordinance, would that be allowed to occur, or under the language that Chris said, where we meet that, is that going to be something that we would allow by right under our code?
The current ordinance allows for a similar flow type path as it currently exists before development. So in other words, you need to mimic not only the flow amount that leaves the site after the development occurs, but also in generally the same location and in a similar allocation if you have multiple discharge points. So in other words, if you have a site with a hill and half of it goes one way and half it goes the other way, the ordinance would say at the end of the post-development, you would need to mimic that allocation to some degree of the half going one way or the other. In this situation, I think the majority of it is going toward Lynn Lane, so I don't think that will be an issue, and I think that my guess is they'll try to tie in to the existing storm drainage system there on Lynn Lane that's a part of the roadway. So I think that a lot of your concerns about discharging it to the east, I think it's going to be pretty unfeasible to do that. But we can certainly take a look at it and make sure that it all goes north.
Okay, so along that same line, if I may, one of the conditions, it is number 7, says that we have to have a 10-foot buffer yard along essentially the Maison de Ville and the subject property's property line. If at the Development Review Committee, it falls under item number 4, to look at proper use of mitigative techniques, if it looks like drainage is being proposed that might undermine the structural integrity or get in that 10-foot buffer yard, would the Development Review Committee look at that as an adverse impact that would need to be addressed through stormwater? So I think that could fall under as another catch-all to make sure that stormwater isn't moving from west to east onto the Maison de Ville property. If we have the 10-foot buffer yard that has to be maintained, if stormwater is going towards the wall at Maison de Ville, that we would look at that as an adverse impact and would look at options for how do we deal with stormwater management that moves the water either to the south or to the west.
Is there a question,
and if
or
that,
are you making a
I'm
statement?
saying if that is the case, if it falls under that 3, then I think we don't have to add the language about Maison de Ville if both the city attorney and the city engineer and the city planner think that covers making sure that we're not going to be pushing water from west to east across the Maison de Ville wall right there that might potentially cause an adverse impact to either the structural integrity of the wall or having stormwater into the homes in Maison de Ville.
I mean, I don't think that would be a problem for them to design it that way. I mean, mean, the buffer doesn't, it's not saying the buffer has to remain undisturbed, right?
It does not say
It just
that.
says it needs to provide a 10-foot wide strip. So I think if you have variability to grade that however you want, you would want to drain it from east to west anyway.
And so, I agree, I think that's what will likely happen. And so I would, during the development review committee, when you look at the engineering, you're going to look at that and you're going to do what is, you believe is in the best engineering practices that's not going to have an impact on Maisonneville.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so I hate to be slow, but where does that leave us? What's our
I think that
language?
I'm going to have the city attorney
Okay.
read that one more time.
That leaves us with all the conditions in place and with
Okay.
number 6 amended to say the grading and drainage improvements required for the development of the subject property shall demonstrate to the Development Review Committee that the design complies with the City of Starkville stormwater ordinance.
Okay, all right. And Alderman Walker, you're satisfied with that?
Yes.
All right. Alderman Sistrunk, you're second. You're satisfied with that? Okay.
Yes.
Anything further?
Mayor,
Alderman Little.
I'd just like to say, I appreciate the comments from the folks at Riddle Run and Maison DeVille, and I can appreciate you wanting to ensure that your property values are not affected in a negative way in the adjacent property. I'm not sure if this is going to be the end-all, cure-all, as you may hope. I'm going to support this tonight, but in that, I think we would be having a similar conversation if it were a Dollar Tree or Dollar General building there, and we're building by right, and they could have over the last several years had they chosen to, and with the light shining over the fence and so forth, we'd be having a very similar, and I think there's only, and I think we're somewhat on a slippery slope as far as how much control we're going to try to exert on adjacent property short. I would love to have a vacant lot next to me, but to keep it vacant, the only way to ensure that is to buy the lot to keep it vacant. So I just feel like, I see all these relatives listed, but if someone chooses they could buy a house next door to me in Country Club Estates, we've got a homeowners association, we've never had a meeting. It's never been turned over. I've been living there 13 years. It's never been turned over by our developer. So a piece of paper is only worth what it's written on to some degree. And enforcing this, we're talking about covenants that haven't been written, and we're going to put these into a set of covenants where the developer could say, if 20% consensus say, we're going to take that out and you can rent, they can do that. So I just want y'all to be, aware that this is not going to be the end-all cure-all, and the city can't control that. If somebody wants to buy a piece of property and let their son and 2 of their buddies live there and call them partners, who's going to argue that? It's tough, and I'm just going to be candid with you on that. So, I yield.
Thank you, Alderman Little. Alderman Beatty, did I see your?
Counselor, number 10, is number 10 legally enforceable? I mean, is it?
I think it's defensible, Alderman Beatty.
All right. Anything further? All right. Seeing nothing further, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. It's unanimous. Motion carries.
Mayor, let me clarify that. Alderman Beatty, we're not going to enforce anything.
Right.
But is it
But
defensible?
in court, it's.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. Next item under board business is going to be item A, discussion consideration of police chief appointment. Alderman Little?
Yes, Mayor. Once again, the city's received a quality pool of applicants for this position. I appreciate every applicant that applied, both internal and external candidates. But having considered all the applications, one application stood out above the rest, and that application is the application of Mark Ballard. Captain Ballard began his career with the Starkville Police Department back in December of 1996. Since that time, he has worked his way up from rookie officer to the current rank of captain and on the command staff. Since achieving the rank of captain, Captain Ballard has served in the place of Chief Nichols when Chief Nichols has been absent. So we've been able to observe Captain Ballard lead the department on a temporary basis already. During those time periods, he has served in an exemplary fashion as well as in his role as captain. Therefore, Mayor, I move pursuant to Mississippi Code sections 21-3-3 and 21-21-1, I move to appoint Mark Ballard based on his credentials, experience, and qualification to serve as police chief for the city of Starkville beginning on January 1st, 2020 at a salary of $85,000.
All right. Alderman Little, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Alderman Carver. All right. Further discussion. And I will pass that motion along. Okay. All right. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. It is unanimous. Thank you all. All right, next item is my proclamation, I believe I've got. I slipped it in there as item D for the board, and I've got a proclamation. I'm just gonna read this, ladies and gentlemen, if that's okay with y'all, and I'll let somebody make a motion to this effect. This is a proclamation of the existence of a local emergency for the city of Starkville, whereas the mayor and board of aldermen do hereby find that the conditions of extreme peril to the safety of persons and property have arisen within the said city of Starkville, caused by the tropical storm Olga, causing damaging winds and flash flooding commencing on or about 3 p.m. on the 26th day of October 2019. And whereas the aforesaid conditions of extreme peril warrant and necessitate the proclamation of the existence of a local emergency in order to provide for the health and safety of the citizens and protection of their property within the affected jurisdiction, now therefore it is hereby proclaimed that in accordance with section 33-15-17 sub D, Mississippi Code 1972, as amended, a local emergency now exists throughout the city of Starkville and shall be reviewed every 30 days until such local emergency is no longer in effect and proclaimed terminated by the mayor and board of aldermen of the city of Starkville, state of Mississippi, is further proclaimed and ordered that all city of Starkville agencies and departments shall render all possible assistance and discharge their emergency responsibilities as set forth in the city of Starkville Emergency Operations Plan. And it would be dated as of today, which would be November the 5th, 2019. So that's the proclamation that was provided to me by Kristen Campanella, who has asked that we support this based on the opportunity for us to regain some expenditure of funds that were a part of our effort for cleanup from that date forward, and we have spent a good bit of time and effort in so doing. So if someone would be so kind as to make a motion to that effect.
So moved, Mayor.
I have a motion from Alderman Little. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Alderman Beatty. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And again, I apologize for bringing it so late in the day. Next item is planning, this consideration of a variance for Heather Osborne from setback requirements for property located at 301 Yates Street in an R2 zone with a parcel 102A-00-0506.
This is the variance request by Heather Osborne on behalf of Mary Ann Henderson for variance relief from the setback requirements for a property at 301 Yates Street, which is located in an R2 zone. The applicant is in the process of purchasing the property to remove the existing house to build a new house. The existing house does not meet setbacks. And you can see just on this aerial in the back, it's that small little triangle part. It's bordered by 2 streets and a railroad track right of way. So it's a very odd shaped, small parcel. The house that's on it now, you might be familiar with, it's a kind of a blue house, royal blue house with black shutters. And the current house does not meet any of the setback requirements, most likely due to the size of the lot and the shape of the lot. And this request is to build a house back, a new house, tear that structure down, build a new house that has setbacks that are similar to the existing house. The front setback would be 5 feet. The setback to the north would be 7 feet, which is a little bit closer than the current setbacks. The setbacks to the south would be 2 feet, where the current property is actually encroaching within the right-of-way. The green part of that image is the proposed house. The hatch underneath it is the existing house. And I can zoom in a little more if you'd like. If that helps. And then there is no rear property line, but the property corner to the far east is, there were setbacks that would meet it. 22 property owners of record within 300 feet of subject property are notified by mail. A public hearing is published in Starkville Daily News on September 24th and a sign posted on the property. We have not received any phone calls, emails, or letters about this request.
Okay, may I ask, It's encroaching in the city's right-of-way, and it looks like railroad right-of-way? Am I is it
No, it's
missing the railroad right-of-way?
currently encroaching in the current house.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the proposed. The green
This
is the
property
proposed,
line.
right?
That's the property line right here.
The green is not.
Yeah, the green is not encroaching into
Okay.
any right-of-way or the railroad property. It's sited with inside the property limits.
Okay, I thought I heard you
Current
say it was
house is encroaching
encroaching.
in the right-of-way.
In current house is, okay, my
Correct.
bad. I
So
was.
they're actually, getting rid of that encroachment
Okay,
with this proposal. And then they also have one image of kind of the style that they're doing. It's that traditional style, which would be compatible with the area.
okay. All right, any discussion from the board? Any?
Move approval.
Second.
I have I have a motion from Alderman Walker for approval. I have a second from Alderman Little. Further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Carries. Motion is unanimous. One last item on the agenda is going to be our claims docket.
Move approval.
I have a motion from Alderman Carver and a second, I missed the second, I'm sorry. Alderman Little? All right, second from Alderman Little. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
All right, by a vote of 5-2, motion carries, and that takes us to the end of the agenda, I believe. So let me just quickly say that the board will be having a work session on November the 15th at 1:15, second floor of City Hall. Public and press are invited to attend, and we will post that. I think it probably is already posted. We will post that within an hour of the close of this hearing, of this meeting. So, anything further from anyone? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to recess. A motion from Alderman Vaughn to recess, a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Beatty, a second from Alderman Beatty. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, we are in recess. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.